Hello everyone, welcome to Advanced Knowledge Systems and a warm welcome to AKS IAS Academy, and it offers examination coaching for UPSC CSE, State Public Service Commission, SSC Combined Graduate Level and CLAT examinations. And about me, I'm Sandeep Bhushan Thumala, and I take up the analysis of the Hindu newspaper, that is the DNA of today's Hindu, that is of 22nd of April 2021. And throughout my session, I would be emphasizing on the keywords and the key phrases from the Hindu newspaper, wherein we will try to identify the critical information for UPSC in regards to identifying the factual analytical questions for the prelims. And while you imbibe the keywords and the key phrases in your answer writing for the mains examination, it will be useful for you because you can score higher marks in the mains examination. Thereby, this session will help you to crack both the prelims and mains of 2021. And before we get into the DNA of the newspaper, we will be focusing at the quote of the day. And the quote of the day says that, don't be pushed by your problems. Be led by your dreams. So what is very important is you try to differentiate between the dreams and the problems, and make sure that you're pushing aside the problems and you're leading yourself by your dreams. So don't be pushed by your problems, be led by your dreams. And in regards to the DNA of the newspaper, we would be focusing at the information what is given by the ICMR, that is the Indian Council of Medical Research. And this information or the statement made by the ICMR is in regards to the post-vaccine infection. So this is a keyword here, that is the post-vaccine infection, which has been made a statement or the clarity being given by the ICMR saying that the post-vaccine infection is a small fraction which has been taken up by vaccinating to the majority of the people in India by the vaccine called as Covaxin or Covishield, and then which they have administered this vaccine and got tested positive for the COVID-19 is a small fraction of people. And this is a statement made by the ICMR in regards to the post-vaccine infection. And they say that this small fraction is just 2 in 10,000 of the people who have been inoculated by Covaxin or the Covishield vaccine. And they say that these kind of similar rates of reinfection, that is in regards to the post-vaccine infection, is seen not only in India but also internationally when there are other vaccines which are also being inoculated or administered to the various citizens internationally. So the ICMR has made a statement or the explanation in regards to the post-vaccine infection. Either it could be in regards to the Covaxin or the Covishield, that it is a very small fraction and it is roughly 2 in 10,000. And it also said that the immune response begins to develop usually only after 2 weeks after every dose. And this immune system which develops after being administered by Covaxin or Covishield, it varies from individuals to individuals. And it also has given the data that the statistics which is in regards to the being tested positively post-vaccine treatment in regards to the Covaxin is that the 9.3 million people who have received the first dose have been tested positive is 4,208, and the one who have got the second dose is 1.7 million people, and the one who have been tested positive is 695. So the ICMR has made it very clear that the post-vaccine reinfection in Covaxin or Covishield is just 2 in 10,000, and this has been substantiated by the statistics. And the Covishield, in regards to the Covishield, the first dose was administered to 100.3 million people, and out of that the one who were tested positive is 17,145. And in regards to the second dose of the Covishield, 15 million people have been inoculated, and the one who have been positive is 5,014. So as per this data provided by the Covaxin and the Covishield, ICMR has made it very clear that the post-vaccine infection is a small fraction and it is just 2 in 10,000 of people being inoculated or administered by the vaccine, Covaxin and Covishield. And the ICMR also put forth that the small fraction of reinfection is because of the key reason, that is of two reasons. And the first reason is that when the vaccine is administered to the healthcare and the frontline workers, who are the one who have been first vaccinated, they are more exposed to the virus, and therefore there is a possibility of more susceptibility for them to be reinfected. And that is the reason which ICMR has put forth that the post-vaccine reinfection is happening in India. And the second reason that is because of the highly transmissible second wave which we are experiencing in India, because of the various or the variants of vaccine, that is in regards to the mutation of the vaccine which is taking place, is highly transmissible in second wave, and this has contributed to instances of infection among the people who have been administered vaccine. So these are the two reasons or the key reasons which the ICMR has put forth in regards to the post-vaccine reinfection in India. And it also said that because of this mutation of the virus, several variants are being shown to avoid detection. So these variants, because of the mutation of the SARS-CoV-2 virus, the immune system is unable to detect, or else these variants are avoiding the detection from the immune system, and thereby the efficacy of the vaccine is being reduced. Because the immune system is unable to detect the new mutation of the several variants of the SARS-CoV-2, the efficacy of the vaccine is reducing not only in India but also globally. Therefore, the reinfection of the cases post-vaccination is a small fraction, which is been said by the ICMR, and it is just 2 in 10,000. So this is in regards to the post-vaccine infection keyword. You need to focus that how there is a possibility or the reasons why the reinfection is happening. One is because the frontline or the healthcare workers which are or who are more exposed to the virus are more susceptible, and the second one is because of the highly transmissible second wave, which is because of the mutation which is taking place in the SARS-CoV-2 virus. And there are several variants, such as like we have seen that UK variant or Brazil variant, and then South America variant, and now also Indian variant is also now on the happening. So these are the several variants, and because of this the immune system is unable to detect, and thereby the efficacy of the vaccine is being reduced, and that is leading to the post-vaccine infection. Please do understand, because of the several variants which we have focused now, UK, Brazil, South America, and also now Indian variant, which is also now the scientists or researchers are getting into the mode of trying to identify a new variant, that is Indian variant. And because of this mutation, as the immune system is unable to detect, that is why the efficacy is reduced for the vaccine, and thereby the post-vaccine infection is happening. And that is what the ICMR has said. It is a small fraction, and this small fraction is just 2 in 10,000. So this is the conceptual understanding why the post-vaccine infection is happening, because of the new variants or several variants, because of the mutation, and because of that the immune system is unable to detect. Because of that the result is that the efficacy of the vaccine is reduced, thereby post-vaccine reinfection is happening. And the another news which would be focusing is that a study has been taken up by an US CIRF, that is the US Commission on International Religious Freedom, and this key phrase is important for prelims as well as mains perspective, because we will be focusing at a key phrase called as country of particular concern. This is a key phrase which will be focusing, and this key phrase is certainly very crucial for prelims perspective for current affairs. Because the US Commission on International Religious Freedom, USCIRF, which is an independent bipartisan commission, has recommended for this second year in a row, that is even last year 2020 and also now 2021, the USCIRF, which is a Commission on International Religious Freedom, has recommended the US State Department. So please do understand, this commission is of US, that is US Commission on International Religious Freedom, has recommended the US State Department. Why? What it has recommended the US State Department? That is to put India on the list of what? List of countries of particular concern. That means there is a concern with few particular countries. That is what it means. And that is been highlighted by the US Commission on International Religious Freedom and been recommended to the US State Department to put India on the list of countries of particular concerns. Why? Because it says that there is a worst violation of religious freedoms in the year 2020. And now we can understand that USCIRF has recommended to the US State Department to put India onto the list of countries of particular concerns because of there are violation of religious freedom in India. That is why India is being recommended by the USCIRF to the US State Department to put India on the countries of particular concern. So what is the particular concern? Here it is in regards to the India which is violating the religious freedom in India. So this is as per USCIRF. Please do understand, this is the statement made is as per USCIRF. And what the Commission on International Religious Freedom has the key concern that it wants to put India on the countries of particular concern is that it has put forth in its 2021 report that the concerns are the Citizenship Amendment Act, the National Register of Citizens, and the efforts to prohibit interfaith marriage, especially in Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh, are the key concerns which have been reported by the USCIRF to put India on the list of countries of particular concern. So please do understand, the keyword is the USCIRF and the countries of particular concerns, and then the key concerns are in regards to the Citizenship Amendment Act, National Register of Citizens, and the efforts to prohibit interfaith marriages are the key concerns by the USCIRF to put India on the list of countries of particular concerns. And the USCIRF, they have come up with the recommendations to the US State Department. Now we will focus what are the recommendations. What are the recommendations by the USCIRF to the US State Department to put India on the countries of particular concerns? The first recommendation is that it wanted the US administration to impose targeted sanctions. Please do understand, that is the first recommendation, is to put India or to impose targeted sanctions on India's individuals and entities. Why to put target of sanctions on the India's individuals and entities? Because of serious violation of religious freedom. So this is the first recommendation. And the second recommendation by the USCIRF is that it wanted the US administration to promote interfaith dialogue and the rights of all communities through the bilateral and multilateral forums such as quadrilateral or Quad. So the second recommendation is wanting the US administration to promote interfaith dialogue and right of all communities. Please do understand the kind of recommendations which the USCIRF has recommended for the US State Department. First is to impose targeted sanctions because it has violated the religious freedom, and the second one is to promote interfaith dialogue, and the third is rights of all communities through the Quad, that through the bilateral or multilateral. And the third recommendation is to the US Congress is to raise the issue in the US-India bilateral space, and that raising of issues of in the US-India bilateral space is by hosting hearings, writing letters, and constituting the congressional delegation. So these are the various platforms which the US Congress can use to raise the issues in the US-India bilateral space. And this is the third recommendation by the USCIRF. And the USCIRF recommendations have been provided or been given to the US State Departments. Now the question arises is that whether the USCIRF's recommendations are binding on the US State Department or onto the US President. So if you look at the previous USCIRF recommendations onto the Trump administration, they were non-binding. And in turn, the Trump administration has rejected the USCIRF recommendation to designate India as a country of particular concern in 2020. So what is very important is the keyword, that is countries of particular concerns, and the US Commission on International Religious Freedom, and the recommendations to the US State Department, and whether these recommendations are binding on the US administration or now onto the Joe Biden administration. Because if you look at the last year's recommendation in the year 2021 were not binding, and in turn Trump administration has rejected the USCIRF recommendations to designate India as a CPC in 2020. Now we need to focus how the Joe Biden administration would focus or would look into the USCIRF recommendation onto India to put or designate India as a CPC in 2020. So this is from current affairs point of view in regards to the religious freedom. And the third one is in regards to the Rafale jets, which have, now we have seen the fifth batch of the 4 Rafale jets have been arrived in India. They have landed in India, and this has been taken up as a non-stop flying from France, and which was flagged off from Mérignac Air Base from France by Indian Air Force Chief, that is Air Chief Marshal R.K.S. Bhadauria. So R.K.S. Bhadauria has flagged off the 5th batch of 4 Rafale jets which have flown from the Mérignac Air Base from France, and they have flown to India, that is non-stop they have flight. And this completed, this has the 4 or the 5th batch has completed the first Rafale squadron in the Indian Air Force. Please do understand, and this is the, again for Prim's perspective, that the first Rafale squadron, which is the number 17 Golden Arrows, the name of the first Rafale squadron of IAF to complete the first batch of Rafale jets to be inducted into the number 17 Golden Arrows Rafale squadron in the Indian Air Force is based in Ambala, that is in Haryana. So this is a crucial information for prelims for current affairs in regards to the Rafale jets. And the fighters have flown or a distance of 8,000 kilometers, and in turn during that 8,000 kilometers there was an air-to-air refueling which has taken place to the 5 Rafale jets which has flown to India, and this air-to-air refueling was supported by French Airways, Air Force, and then UAE Air Force. Again, these two are very important for prelims perspective, because by the completion of the first Rafale squadron in the Indian Air Force, that is to the number 17 Golden Arrows based in Ambala, the air-to-air refueling support was done by which among the following Air Force? That is by the French Air Force and by the UAE Air Force. This could be that which among the following statements are incorrect. That first one could be French Air Force, and the second one could be UAE Air Force, and the third one could be FAF, that is French Air Force, and UAE Air Force, and the third one is none. So the answer would be the third one, that is both the French Air Force and the UAE Air Force have supported the air-to-air refueling to the 5 fighter jets which have flown from the Mérignac Air Base from France covering a distance of 8,000 kilometers. And this deal has been taken up by India with France, that is to have a contract of 36 Rafale jets with 7.87 billion euros. And this contract is an intergovernmental agreement. So this is a key phrase, that the Rafale jets, that is of 36 Rafale jets, which have been taken up as a contract between India and France under with 7.87 billion euros, is intergovernmental agreement, and this has been taken up in the year 2016, and the first 5 jets were inducted in the Indian Air Force on September 2020. So almost after 4 years of the agreement between India and France in regards to the Rafale jets, which was intergovernmental agreement, the first 5 jets were inducted in the year September 2020. So this is the Rafale jets, which we have the missiles also, which would be used at the border, Indian border, to fight against the enemy. And this is in regards to the internal security, and again in regards to the defense, India's defense, how Rafale jets are crucial to protect the national security, And now we will focus at another news, which the Sri Lanka government has detected a nuclear material in the Hambantota port, and then it has detected a radioactive material in a China-bound vessel in the southern port of Sri Lanka, that is in Hambantota port. And this vessel, which was detected by the Sri Lankan government, has been asked to leave the port, that is Hambantota port, to the shipping company, because the shipping company has failed to obtain prior clearance for the dangerous cargo, that is of the radioactive material, which is not accepted as per the Sri Lankan law. So as per the Sri Lankan law, the Sri Lankan government has asked the shipping company, which was carrying the radioactive material and which was a China-bound vessel, which was found in the southern Sri Lankan port, that is Hambantota port, was asked to leave the port as per the Sri Lankan law. And this vessel, which was detected with the radioactive material, which is tagged as a dangerous cargo, is of uranium hexafluoride. So the radioactive material here, which was found by the Sri Lankan government in a China-bound vessel in the southern of the Hambantota port, is uranium hexafluoride, and which is considered as a class, or it is classified under dangerous cargo. And the officials have said that the local shipping company, which was carrying the dangerous cargo of the radioactive material, which is the uranium hexafluoride, in the Hambantota port, was sailing under the flag of Antigua and Barbuda, and this vessel or the shipping company was moving, or which was from Rotterdam, that is from Netherlands, to China. So as it was a China-bound vessel from Netherlands, that is from Rotterdam, which was under the flag of Antigua and Barbuda, was asked to leave the port. And the vessel has cited that it has had a mechanical emergency. That is why it has taken, or it was halted at Hambantota port. So we can see here, this is the place called as Hambantota port, which is in the southernmost of the Sri Lanka, Hambantota port. And in turn, the shipping company has asked that the vessel, which was citing a mechanical emergency, has sought a permission from the harbor manager at the Hambantota port. And now what we need to understand from the UPSC perspective is that, or the civil servant, or as a civil servant aspirant, this Hambantota port in Sri Lanka is a China run, or the investments made by China in the Hambantota port. And in turn, the Sri Lankan government has asked the vessel to leave the port. The company did not declare. That means the shipping company, which was under the flag of Antigua and Bermuda, did not declare the cargo as a radioactive material. Since they did not declare that it was a radioactive material, and as per the Sri Lankan law, the officials have asked the vessel to leave the port, that is from the Hambantota port, which is a China-run Hambantota port. And in turn, the company which did not require or which did not declare that the cargo was a radioactive material was actually a requirement under the Sri Lankan's Atomic Energy Act, which has to be declared by the company that it was carrying a cargo of radioactive materials. So it was a requirement by the Sri Lankan Atomic Energy Act that the company has to declare the cargo as a radioactive material. And what we need to understand is that how or on what basis the Sri Lankan government or else the officials from the Hambantota port have asked the vessel, which was under the flag of Antigua and Bermuda, which was from Netherlands to China, or it was a China bound vessel which was carrying a radioactive material, that is uranium hexafluoride, and it was a dangerous cargo which was not declared by the company, but it was an important requirement under the Sri Lankan's Atomic Energy Act. So as per the Sri Lankan's Atomic Energy Act and as per the Sri Lankan law, the Sri Lankan officials, that is the port officials, have asked the vessel to leave the port, that is Hambantota port. Here we can see another port apart from Hambantota port, that is Trincomalee and then Batticaloa port also, which are also in news. And there is another news in regards to the how the exporters are worried about the delay in the rebate rates. So now the keyword is that there is a delay in the rebate rates, which has been announced by the government of India, especially to support the exporters during the COVID-19 pandemic situation. And according to the tax consultancy firm called as RSM Astute, so this is the consultancy firm called as RSM Astute. According to this firm, it says that the exporters fret or they are worried over the delay in regards to the government coming up with a notification of the rates under the new World Trade Organization complaint scheme. So this is the new scheme under which the exporters can go ahead with having a rebate in regards to the taxes and duties for the exporters. But as there is an inordinate delay by the government to come up with the notification of the rates under the WTO complaint scheme, and that is the worrying factor, and wherein the exporters are fretting now that the WTO complaint scheme is not being taken up, or there is a delay in notification by the government. And the exporters are also seeking greater clarity from the government that they focus on some gray areas pertaining to the scheme, that is the WTO complaint scheme. And Indian exporters, as per the consultancy or the tax consultancy firm RSM Astute, the Indian exporters require more stimulus due to COVID-19, and the exporters are now hoping that the scheme, that is ROD or RDTEP scheme. So we will look at what is the scheme, and this is a keyword which is now crucial for the prelims of UPSC, that is in regards to the scheme. RDTEP scheme is related to the exporters, which is in regards to the rebating taxes and duties to the export sector, which is under the new WTO complaint scheme, and this is called as ROD RODTEP scheme. And what is this RODTEP scheme? That is remission of duties and taxes on export products. So here the focus is on regards to the exporters. The focus is in regards to the export sectors. How the government of India, through the remission of duties and taxes on export products, are trying to help or provide more stimulus to the exporters, but the exporters are not happy with the delay in notification by the governments of the rates. What is the delay? Delay in notification of the rates in regards to what? Rebating taxes and duties. This is the key conceptual understanding. Please do understand why the exports are unhappy with the scheme of remission of duties and taxes on export products, because there is a delay in notification of rates. Rates of what? Rates of rebating taxes and rebating duties. Under what rates the taxes and duties will be rebated, that notification is delay, and that is the concern by the exporters, and that has been raised, or it is according to the tax consultancy firm called as RSM Astute. And they say that this RODTEP scheme should not be an impediment to the exporter's business plan. What do you mean by impediment? Impediment is that obstruction or hurdle. That means the remission of duties and taxes on export products taken up by the government of India should not be an hurdle to the business plan of the exporters and to the export sector. And in turn, now we'll look at the statement made by the Commerce Secretary. He said very near future. What is he talking about very near future? That is the Commerce Secretary Anup Wadhawan has said that the rates or the notification to the rates under the remission of duties and taxes of export duty scheme, this will be notified very in a near future. So this is the statement given by the Commerce Secretary in regards to the notification of the rates under the remission of duties and taxes on export product scheme, which this scheme has come into effect on January 1st, 2021. And the exporters have been urging the government to lift the existing uncertainty over the benefits, that is the rates on the taxes and duties which actually accrue to them under this scheme. So definitely the taxes which will be rebated, under which rates the taxes and the duties would be rebated, and thereby these benefits actually which will add to the scheme. Now the exporters are urging the government to lift the uncertainty and then come up with the immediate notification of the rates for the tax and duties. And now the exporters are finding it difficult because of the uncertainty and the notification being an inordinate delay. They are finding it difficult to come up with a fresh price for the global orders because of the absence of the crucial information, especially in the export sectors, and because of the uncertainty over the benefits. They are now experiencing thin margins, and this is leading for them to price the fresh global orders, and that is what the exporters are finding it difficult, and they are urging the government to lift the uncertainty. And this information, or this has to be focused from economy, and that is in regards to the exports or in regards to the export sectors. And the scheme taken up by the government of India is RODTEP scheme is the keyword which you need to focus for prelims perspective, that is remission of duties and taxes on export products. And I hope this session was informative, knowledgeable, and also crucial and critical for mains and prelims perspective. So I would say a very big thank you to all. Good luck to you all, and then do maintain consistency, stick to your schedule, and take care of your physical health and mental health. And do not forget to like the video, share the video, and subscribe the AKS IAS Academy English Medium YouTube channel, and also have access to the website and Telegram link of AKS IAS Academy. And then see you again tomorrow with the daily news analysis at AKS IAS Academy. Till then, thank you, goodbye, and then take care.